here. Really appreciate you guys taking the time on a Monday morning to come into school. My name is Jude Missick. I am the 6th grade counselor at Harper Park. And then I also want to introduce another counselor, Mrs. Harper in the back. She's our lead counselor, Ashley Harper. Morning, everybody. Come on in and take a seat. We're just getting started. Thank you guys for being here. We have coffee over there, please. Take some coffee if you'd like some. A couple quick things before we get started. This is being recorded, and we're going to be putting the PowerPoint slides and the recording on our website. So you can take notes if you'd like, but just don't feel like you got to get everything right now, because you can certainly go back and review it. And then also, I wanted to introduce our principal, Miss Ivory Brown, in the back there as well. And Miss Ivory Brown puts out a weekly s'more. I don't know if you guys have been able to take a look at it, but please, it's very detailed and it's a lot of good information. Please take a look at it every week, but in every other week, you may have noticed last night you got a grade level s'more that was embedded in there. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, depending on what grade your students are in. Going to be a lot of detailed information from the dean and counselor of that grade, with a lot of information about what's going on in that grade level, but also within each subject area. So trying to have as much communication with you guys as possible and make sure we're sharing everything we're doing. We feel like we got a lot of good stuff going on here. We want to make sure you guys are a part of it as well. So again, thank you guys for showing up. This is important for you guys to hear this information, because we have a lot of good information we want to share. So we really appreciate when parents want to come in and hear from us. I wanted to ask though, first of all, how many 6th grade parents do we have here? Raise your hand, please. Okay, not a 6th grade. And then how many 7th grade parents? Excellent. 8th grade parents? Okay. How about any parents who are brand new to the county? Brand new to the county. Okay, from out of the county. Excellent. Well, welcome to everybody. And then Mr. Braun just came in. Sorry, Mr. Braun just came in. This is Scott Braun, our 6th grade dean, and he's popping in to support us here as well. So thank you, Mr. Braun. Okay, so the transition to middle school. If this is your oldest child and they're a 6th grader and you're a parent of a 6th grader, it's going to be a lot to handle. We finished 10 days. Today's the 11th day of school, so they're pretty brand new still. There's a lot of adjustments. Your children have been doing excellent in 6th grade, and if you're a parent of a 7th grader, they've been doing great as well. I've been hearing great things about 7th grade as well. Really, the whole school, we're really proud of how the students are transitioning kind of back to more of a traditional regular school year, but especially for our 6th graders, it's a big transition from elementary school. There's a lot to handle. So thank you for supporting your children at home and working with us on that. So what are middle schoolers most concerned with? As you can see, Friends is listed first for a reason. The social aspect of middle school and any school level, but especially middle school, is a big deal. Their self-image, how they come off to their peers, is a big deal. And school is obviously, hopefully, important to most, if not every child, and the activities that they might do. And I have a video I wanted to show as well that will help us explain this. Not check sound. And not necessarily working. Sorry about that, guys. Mr. Chan, I didn't check the sound before. The sound for this. I don't get it. Okay. We good? Okay. Bye, guys. I thought we were all set this morning and just realized we didn't check the sound. Anybody ever seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
A few years old now, but it really helps us describe a lot of what's going on in our children's brains.
What is it, woman? What?
Signal him again.
Thank you, Kim.
Where'd it go?
Very good.
So, how was the first day of school?
It was fine, I guess. I don't know. Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Did you guys pick up on that?
Sure did. Something's wrong.
We're gonna find out what's happening, but we'll need support. Signal the husband.
Way.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry.
With a nice ass over Reeve comes across tonight.
Uh-oh, she's looking at us. What did she say?
What? Oh, sorry, sir. No one was listening.
Is it garbage night? We left the toilet seat up.
What? What is it, woman? What?
Signal him again.
So, Riley, how was school?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
For this, we gave up that Brazilian helicopter pilot?
School was great, all right?
What was that? I thought you said we were gonna act casual.
Riley, is everything okay?
Sir, she just rolled her eyes at us.
All right, make a show of force. I don't want to have to put the foot down.
No, not the foot.
Riley, I do not like this new attitude.
Oh, I'll show you attitude, old
No,
man.
no, Reeve.
What is your problem? Just leave me alone.
Sir, reporting high levels of sass.
Take it to DEFCON 2.
DEFCON 2.
I don't know where this disrespectful attitude came from.
You want a piece of this, Pops?
Yeah? Well,
Prepare the foot.
Keys to safety position. Ready to launch on your command, sir.
just shut up!
Fire!
That's it. Go to your room.
The foot is down. The foot is down.
Good job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster.
Well, that was a disaster.
Come, fly with me, Gachinha.
I like that kind of, a little bit about parenting and how challenging that can be as well. Okay, so this presentation is for all middle school parents, but a lot of the times I'm going to be mentioning sixth grade situations because obviously sixth graders are brand new to having lockers and A and B days and multiple teachers in a day, but it applies to all students. So we're a team. So the students' lockers, as you may already know, are in a house area. So the lockers in most core classes are in a house area. House A is up at the front for 8th graders, House B, 7th graders, House C for 6th graders in the back. The dean, counselors, and admin assistants work together to keep the house in order. So each group of 3 really works well together. And then we have Mrs. Harper, and then Mrs. Weatherford, and Mrs. Olson, our school social worker and school psychologist in the Oasis, which we'll talk a little bit more about as well, and they work with each house area. So the dean's role, as you guys can see, they help keep students safe. They remind students to follow the rules. We're all about, every student's going to make a mistake, so trying to grow from that mistake and learn from it. And so the deans do a good job of helping students with that, and they obviously also work on curriculum with teachers and instruction. Counselors, the counselor is there, me as the 6th grade counselor, and then Ms. Hittrick as the 7th grade counselor, and Ms. Tringali as the 8th grade counselor. We, as the grade level counselors, will work, we do lesson plans, we'll come to the classroom, but obviously mainly get to work individually. I know, for example, today it's the second day of me pulling kids in randomly to do little lunch groups so I can get to know my students. For me personally, for my 6th graders, I'm trying to get to know all of them really well. So then whenever problems do arise, I have a little bit of a history of that student, a little relationship, so they are comfortable with me. I might know what's going on with them, a little bit about them, so that usually helps when stuff does come up, 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, then it can be handled in hopefully a little bit more of a better way. By the way, the dean and counselor team will follow the students up to 7th and 8th grade from 6th grade. So if you're a parent of a 7th grader, Miss Zecker and Miss Zecker, who's our new 7th grade? Miss Glenn. Miss Glenn, thank you. Miss Glenn is our new dean, is going to work with Miss Hittrick, and they're going to follow the students from 7th up to 8th. Me and Mr. Braun are going to follow students from 6th to 7th to 8th, so it allows us to get to know the kids really well. Again, it's all about those relationships. And then our administrative assistants, they handle some of those clerical duties, house attendance, bus passes, early dismissals, and whatnot. We do teaming in another form as well, so interdisciplinary teams. So the ITs in 6th grade, we have 2 teams. In 7th and 8th, we have 3 teams each. We try to keep as much as possible your child, all the students on a specific team. The students don't know about it. It's not like we're like, hey, go Jetstream versus go Cyclone team. It's really mainly for the teachers and staff to know, okay, when a kid's struggling, they pull that kid up in a meeting and say, hey, does anybody have any other struggles with this child? They're really not doing this in class, or they're struggling with this. Have you seen that in your class? So the English, history, and science teacher might say, I have that student also, because they're in the same team with them, and they can kind of handle it together and work together to try to figure out what might be going on and see some commonalities there. So they get to regularly plan, discuss interventions for kids, and then the dean and counselor will be part of those meetings as well.
And the team teachers
sorry.
are also available when your student has resource. If you have resource, so they can work with their actual teachers during resource.
Yeah. And then CLTs, so these are all the teachers from the same departments in a grade. For example, social studies has 6 teachers, so they'll all meet together to make sure they're doing common lesson planning, ensure that all kids are getting the same content, so they can kind of streamline everything. So it's pretty uniform across the board. So everything kind of will be very similar for most, if not all, students. What is my students' day like? There's a lot of things going on in a middle school day. So it starts with advisory. Advisory starts every morning. It's kind of what maybe we used to call homeroom back in the day, but with a little bit more to it. It's not just taking attendance and sitting around and kind of talking to your friends. There's a lesson each day. The lesson might be about organization, about kindness, study skills, positivity. Who knows? It's really not who knows. We have it planned, but it's going to be something that's going to hopefully help your child figure something else about school or life and how to be a good person or a good student. And so that's 20 minutes to start each day, and then from there they go to their A or B day schedule. So there's 4 roughly 88-minute classes per day. Some exceptions in 6th grade. Your 6th graders are going to have music and resource for a split block. It's 7th or 8th period for your 6th grader. And then 7th graders, they're going to have music or art and resource for 45 minutes each. The 6th graders have English every day. In 7th and 8th they won't. They'll just have it every other day like a typical subject. And then all other classes are every other day except for certain math supported classes. If your child needs extra math support, they might have math every day or a math lab situation depending on what's going on with your student. And then a 30-minute lunch. And then we try to give the students, we are going to have recess, and we have been having recess every single day unless there's something going on weather-wise where we can't get out there. It's important for them to get out and still kind of have a little time to run around with their friends and let out some of their energy. So we do that every day during that 30-minute lunch. So parent-teacher conferences. There's a little bit that kind of might happen before a parent-teacher conference. We, of course, as you would imagine, we want to have communication from our parents or guardians. Okay, so if you're a parent or guardian of a 6th grader, a 7th grader, 8th grader, whatever it might be, and there's a situation going on in a class or a situation that you want to bring to our attention at the school, certainly we have many points of contact, and you might be a little bit kind of confused depending on the situation of who you should contact. I know for 6th grade, you can always come to me, Mr. Braun. I think that's the same for 7th and 8th grade as well for the dean and the counselor. Certainly shoot us an email, give us a call, and say, hey, this is what's going on, where do I start? But just to let you know, if it is a situation with a class situation, specifically regarding to a certain subject, with a certain teacher, like, let's say your child's having some issues in science and needs some help in science, then you would certainly email that teacher directly and work with them about what's going on in science. But the dean and counselor, of course, can always be copied on that and included in that should you need any help. But it says how, so maybe requested by a parent, teacher, dean, counselor, case manager, student. So if you want to have like a parent-teacher meeting with one teacher or more teachers, then you can certainly request one. Anybody can request one. Who does it? So usually who's involved? It will usually include core teachers, parents, counselor, dean, and sometimes a student. It is nice to have the student there if possible, because we want to make sure we hear from the student what their experience has been like instead of all the adults talking. The most important person, of course, in that situation is the student. And then what a good time to communicate about academic successes and concerns, if there's behavior issues or classroom procedures that they're struggling with. Why it is a good opportunity for you to ask questions. It does provide some good feedback. for you and your child. So at the bottom it says, assume positive intentions. We all want what is best for your child. So everybody, it always comes back to what is the best for the child, and we want to make sure we support them and help them in any way we can. So certainly if you need to have a parent-teacher conference, it can happen, but we definitely encourage you to have communication with the teacher or counselor or dean before that, because it may not even be necessary to gather all the teachers together, but if we need to, then we will gladly do it. So parent-guardian basics. So some tips. I'm going to talk to you guys like you maybe haven't tried any of this, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried one, if not more, or all of these things. But some good things to keep in mind as your child is in 6th or 7th or 8th grade. A homework routine is good because they will get homework pretty regularly. For a lot of the kids, especially in 6th grade, it's kind of a newer thing, like having a decent amount of homework every night, and it can be a lot to manage, and you guys are going to manage the emotions at home with that, and then the frustrations with that. So a homework routine will definitely help them, having one specific area where they do it and maybe a consistent routine. Sometimes you know your child. They'll come home and they need a time to decompress, go outside, go game, whatever they need to do, and then say, okay, but at whatever time, remember you got to start your homework. Some kids get home and they want to knock it out right away, and they're able to do that. You know your child, but try to work out that specific routine. Definitely check ParentView, Schoology, their agenda. If you are checking that on a regular basis with them, it's going to help them realize, okay, I have to do that as well. Ultimately, our goal is to get them ready to be more independent, right, and go on to high school and then more education after that, and be able to say, okay, I have these routines, and you guys are kind of scaffolding those for them, right? And you're helping them build those up. Expect success. Okay, at Harper Park we operate with systems to ensure success. So try to talk about success as much as possible. But success is different for every child. Success isn't always an A, so it's not necessarily about the grade. We're trying to see improvement, trying to see good effort and a good attitude. Definitely communicate with teachers. We have a great staff, a lot of amazing teachers here. They're very proactive, usually about communicating, but if you have anything that you're concerned with or have a question about, please reach out. Email is definitely the quickest. You can certainly have a phone call, but an email at least to start, hey, I want to have a phone call with you, when's a good time, might be a good way to start that. Stay informed of what's happening. So like we talked about at the beginning, please make sure you're checking the s'mores, checking our website. Try to be as involved as you can. That's going to help you, but also obviously help your child. And then if you'd like to follow us on the Facebook page there or Twitter, however you follow people on social media, that might help as well. Some other basic social and emotional, as you can imagine, as a counselor, this is one of the things I'm most concerned with, but it has such a direct impact on their educational experience. Excuse me. Remember, they are little kids in big bodies. If this is your oldest too, this is like the biggest your child has ever been, so you feel like they can handle more. At least that's how I am as a parent. And so you feel like, what's going on? Why are they not handling this? But they're still so young. They're still so like figuring out some of the basic things that you want them to be able to get, but they're not there yet. So as much patience and love and support as you can give them at home, you're going to see that help them in so many ways. And so always listen first and talk later. I know, again, this is stuff that me as a parent of a 6th grader, I have to have this mindset as well. I want to just talk and tell them what to do instead of listening and just hearing them out. Sometimes they just need to talk. Try to get their friends, as it says up there, and their friends' parents and guardians, because obviously who they hang out with and spend time with is going to impact who they, how they develop as a person and kind of what stuff they're involved in. So try to do your best to try to be involved that way. Always call to see if the other parent and guardian is at home, if they're going to go spend time there. Again, this may be basic stuff for you guys, but if you hadn't thought of this, make sure you keep all this stuff in mind if you can. Try to limit technology and check their devices regularly if you don't have any kind of controls on it, or if you're kind of letting them look at stuff, there's some stuff out there that may not be good for them to see. So try to do your best to try to check that. And it's okay to be the bad guy, the uncool parent, and maybe one parent or guardian does that, and then the other one's the non-bad guy, the good cop, bad cop sort of thing, however you want to work it out. And reach out to your counselor. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. We have probably helped a family through it together. I know Miss Harper has been a counselor in the county for over 20 years. Sorry to date you, and me as well. So we have plenty of experience, and I don't want to say we've heard it all, but almost. So please make sure you contact us with anything going on. And they're quickly moving from the picture on the left to the picture on the right. Those are, I think, are flip phones, so I need to get a better picture. But they're cellular devices, so at least.
We have a video there.
Yeah, that's right. Did we check sound? Yes, we did.
The middle school years are tricky for parents because things have been going along pretty smoothly for the past 11 years in most people's cases. And then suddenly what they've been doing that works really well often stops working. So parents can find that really frustrating. And one of the things that they need to understand is that the middle school years are what I call the middle school construction project. So kids are working on developing 3 things that they need to become an adult. They need an adult body, an adult brain, and an adult identity. And that sort of creates the perfect storm for a lot of change to be happening at once. And the best advice I have for parents during this time is to change their role from being a manager, sometimes they're micromanagers, to becoming an assistant manager. And that means that they're really letting kids take more risks and become more independent. And they're operating more as a sounding board instead of someone who is dictating how everything should be done all the time. It seems to work much better for middle schoolers. This is a tough change to make, and I've been there myself. I have a daughter who's in high school and a son who's in middle school, so I know that it's a really difficult change. It helps if you remove yourself and think about the best manager you ever had and some of the things that they did for you. And usually what I hear parents say is that they gave me freedom to make my own choices, they held me accountable, they communicated clearly. Just go through this exercise of thinking about the best manager you ever had and what that was like. And then you've written your own job description while your kid is in middle school. So you can think about implementing some of those things for your own child. And that's a good way to kind of give yourself a roadmap for the next few years. You'll probably have some younger kids in the house who are looking at you saying, I want that too, I want the same freedom. But I think it's fair to say to your kids that middle school is a delineator. And when you reach a certain age and a certain grade, you begin to change the way that things are done. So if you can look at it that way as sort of a marking point in the sand where you're going to make some changes, it helps.
Okay, good information there. Hopefully you guys took something from that little short video. I know whenever I see stuff like that, I always take at least one thing from that. So understand their technology. In order to protect and guide your child, learn as much as you can about their technology. So what are they into? What apps are they into? Are you going to allow them to be on apps? Cyberbullying can affect your child, any children, or any child. And we definitely will be talking about bullying at every level, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Cyberbullying is unfortunately obviously very, very prevalent nowadays, so keep an eye out for that. Are you aware of Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, what is Finsta and spam? Your kids know about it. If not, they will soon. They may not ever get onto it, or if they do, you will want to know about it though. Online gaming, who are they playing with? I know it's tough to manage. I know myself, I don't really know much about all the technology stuff, but just a simple Google search will probably help, but I know there's also going to be, and I don't think it updated.
I don't know why.
And what is it?
Social media for parents, we'll do parent coffee in December. We did it last year, and the parents that came said it was really helpful, so we're going to do that again. The date's to be determined, but I'll send it out.
So we'll do a social media for parents, which will help kind of the ins and the outs, help you guys figure out the ins and the outs of maybe some of the details that you may not know about. I think Ms. Hittrick will do that one.
Yes, one of the youngins, not
one of the
us.
younger counselors will help with that. And then if you can, link all your devices to monitor texts and activity check texts and accounts as often as you can. It's more work for you guys, but the payoff is pretty big if you're able to do that. So their school issued device. So every child in the school has a Chromebook, but there's a little bit of a few things to be aware of with that. They're monitored at all times. So if there's anything anybody does on their Chromebook, we're gonna know about it if it's something that it is inappropriate. So if a friend's joking around with another friend and they send an email to each other and they say a bad word, or they talk about a video game which involves weapons, then it's going to get alerted to us. It's called a gaggle. As you see there, school staff are alerted each time something is concerning is happening on their devices. Thankfully, most of the time it's just, again, talking about video games and being silly, but sometimes they are talking about a bullying situation or a kind of a difficult situation they're going through that needs some adult attention. And then we involve the parent or guardian in that situation as well. So references to suicide, self-harm, intent to harm others, sexually inappropriate pictures, videos, texts, etc. Can come up on those devices. And that's it on their school account in general, not just on their Chromebook, but if they have their email, if they have a phone and then their email for school is on there, and then something comes up while they're using their school account, that will be gavelled as well and flagged. So the school response is required for each Gaggle report. So we have to respond, even if I see an interaction between two students and it's obviously they're talking about a situation that's not a big deal. We'll meet with the student and make sure we clarify to see what's going on to make sure everything's okay. So we're very thorough about that stuff and take all those reports seriously.
Can I ask a question in
Yes,
regards to that? Will you also advise the parents if that happens?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know if there's ever a situation where a gaggle comes up where we don't involve the parents, unless it was clearly like sometimes they're very like silly. They're like, oh, you know, you bullied me, and he's like, oh no, it's just messing. We're like best
It's
friends.
like my best friend.
Yeah, and the other friend's like, oh yeah, we shouldn't use that word. You know, it was kind of silly. But yeah, anything more than just a very basic, minor, like obvious situation, we'll definitely involve parent guardian.
Is that Gaggle like a third-party system, or is that tied to one of the Chromebook? Or?
It's a third-party system, so it's a company, right?
The LCPS hires it. Yeah.
Contracted that
LCPS
company
contracts.
and they monitor all activity.
All right.
And it also, not just on the Chromebook, but anytime they're in their LCPS, Google Drive, Google platform, their email, those are monitored too. So if they're at home and they use their Chromebook in their Google and their LCPS credentials, then that gets monitored.
Yeah, a lot of times a kid will be sitting in their house and typing like a little Word document on their Chromebook, and it's just how they're feeling that day. And if they type their feeling, let's say, about having thoughts of self-harm, it gets flagged, and we will look into it and make sure we alert.
So if that happens after school hours, if it's something where they're worried about the child's safety, it goes directly to LCPS Safety and Security, and the police respond. We don't respond after school hours. We're notified that it happened, and then we're notified when it's resolved, in whatever way it's resolved. But after school hours, if a child says something like that on their Chromebook, then that's what will happen.
So is it bullying? So there, unfortunately, at every school, unfortunately Harper Park included, there is mean behavior and even bullying that will likely occur every school year. We do our best to stay out in front of it and talk about bullying and kindness and respect. You know, be there, be ready, be kind is our saying here at the school. And we really foster that positivity and that respect for everybody, but you know, things happen. They're learning, like I said at the beginning, where we want students to learn from their mistakes and got to learn how to treat people in certain difficult situations. So when sometimes there's rude comments that are made, so it's somebody's unintentionally hurting somebody with their words. Sometimes it's mean, okay, it's intentional, but it just maybe happens one time. And then bullying is intentional, and they keep doing it. Maybe the other person will be like, hey, that's making me upset, and they keep doing it, and it's a continuous thing. Not to say we won't get involved if there's mean behavior, of course, but the bullying, we have zero tolerance for, and we will get involved. So obviously, on your end as a parent or guardian, if there's a situation with your child and they're being treated meanly by somebody else, one time you can certainly try to handle it at home best you can. But if you want to alert us, you can. But definitely bullying, we want to be involved if you hear about it on your end. Oftentimes, a student will tell their parent or guardian, hey, this student's bullying me, and then the parent or guardian looks into it and they make us aware, and we handle it from our end and make sure we're really thorough with that. Obviously, if we see it on our end, we will alert the parent or guardian and let you guys know how we're handling it to support. The counselor and the dean are always involved in that. So just something for you guys to understand, because sometimes kids will be like, they're bullying me, and the kid said something rude once. Not a great thing, but if it's not continuing, then it's not technically bullying. Doesn't mean, again, we don't handle it, but just want to make sure everybody's aware of the different definitions. So we do have bullying prevention, as I mentioned earlier as well. It's different for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, as you can see, and the definition is up top there, they're repeated. use one strength or status to intimidate or injure another person. So the bullying basics is what we do in 6th grade. You know, what is it, how to help stop it, and what to do if it happens. 7th grade, healthy relationships and boundaries. 8th grade, cyberbullying online. As you can see, not that cyberbullying doesn't go on with 6th or 7th, but as they get older, that's going to be a little bit more prevalent because the students usually have more access to a phone or apps or all those ways that unfortunately cyberbullying can occur. And then all grades will get through PBIS advisory, making connections with kids. You know, we'll do various little mini things about bullying and kindness. October is Bullying Prevention Month, so we'll do weekly lessons and advisory, and then online reporting form is located on the main Harper Park website. Are you going to mention that?
Yeah, so if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the main page, you'll see report mistreatment here. So it's a way that a child can do it, you can do it if you know that something's happened, if they're afraid to approach an adult at school to tell them, and it comes directly to us, and then we can respond.
And then Sources of Strength is a 7th and 8th grade program where there are a group of students who, do they volunteer or do we choose?
We choose and then we ask them if they want to.
Yes,
They don't have
but
to.
they're a group of 7th and 8th grade leaders who then are kind of work together to figure out how to spread more positivity and acceptance amongst the students. So lots of different ways we hit it from different angles. Instead of us just talking to the students saying, hey, you got to be kind, don't bully, we try to also use the students to figure out the best ways to get those messages across and help them learn how to treat people with respect. So.
Okay, another thing that,
I have a question.
Yes, so question?
Yep.
How often do you see bullying or things like that happening at school?
Bullying, I don't know, I can't really necessarily put how often, like it's not like a daily occurrence. It happens once in a while. It's not really a typical thing around here.
I mean, there's
Dean,
definitely...
Mr. Friend is here as well. I should have introduced him, one of our assistant principals. So Mr.
Morning,
Friend.
everybody.
And so not that you guys just handle discipline, but how often would you say bullying occurs at our school typically?
Like a standard answer that I always give is it does not happen if we know what's going on. One of those types of deals.
Yeah.
It's not something that happens very often. Like they said, a lot of times those gaggles come through and it's, you know, kind of playful in nature, but they're not using the term bullying correctly. But it's rare for it to be, you know, a situation that's ongoing, you know, 3 people teaming up on one person. That's very rare. And when we find out about it, we have a really good system to handle it, which involves obviously, you know, partnering with parents too, and whatever the appropriate consequences, learning experiences need to come from that. So it is not a common thing. So yeah.
That reminds me, because I don't think we have it in here, we do use a system called restorative practices. If a situation is such that it is serious and kids were harmed or one kid was harmed by another kid, and I mean emotionally harmed, not necessarily physically, we offer something called a restorative practice. And parents have to agree to it, but it's facilitated by trained RP facilitators, and it's a way for the kids to feel heard and hear the other one and hopefully repair the harm that was done and then be able to move forward. It's a great system. We use it across the county. It's not just a Harper Park thing. But just know that that's an option. If we get to a point where there's a serious situation, we like to offer that to make sure the kids are okay and be able to move on. Okay, so your kids will also do some career and college readiness in middle school. In 6th grade, we begin with basics. They start learning about different careers. We've in the past done a career day, so I'm hoping that we'll do that again in the spring. We had to shut it down obviously during COVID and hybrid and all that stuff, but I'd like to bring that back. They'll start learning about some of the specialized high schools we have in the county, which I'll mention in a future slide. 7th graders do their college exploration in FACS, their family and consumer science class. Every 7th grader has a semester of it, so your child might be in it now, they might have it next semester. And they will do extensive college exploration. There's some really fun activities they do, and then they will create their 6-year academic plan of study. It's a fluid document, so don't freak out when you see it, but they'll learn that if I'm in this math, then this math comes and this math comes, and the language progression and things like that. So that's really helpful for them. And then in 8th grade, they will do a more extensive college search. They will put in their preferences. I want to go to a big college, I want a small college, I want only girls. And then it will produce a list for them, and then they can go through and learn more about those colleges and see if they're and it will store that for them, and they will use Naviance, this system, all the way through high school. And it will be where they apply to colleges too, in that portal. And then we do college visits in 8th grade. We've always done them in person, obviously not during the pandemic. And our 8th grade counselor is working on getting that set up. George Mason is usually where we go because it's an easy one to do in a day, but they get a great experience. But they are kind of clamping down on the amount of kids that can come at once, so we're working on it. But they do a virtual version too, so we may have to do that depending on if we can get them to do what we want for the in-person. And then the high school counselors will come over and meet with all the 8th graders in February is when we usually do that, to give them all the high school information. And we'll do a parent coffee for rising 9th grade parents too. One other person that's really important is Neldy Negron. She's our family liaison. She speaks Spanish and and English obviously, but she's able to hook families up with any resources outside of school that they may need. If you fall on hard times or you just need to know about a community resource, she is that gal, and she's in the main office. She's easy to find. We also have a unified mental health team, and the next parent coffee we're going to do is going to be all the unified mental health team members and the services we offer, but it's the counselors, the social worker, the school psych, administrators, our nurse is a part of that, and then we have a student assistance specialist whose concentration is substance abuse prevention, and she works with us in Heritage High School. So anything having to do with that, she'll do a parent coffee probably too. If a child does have an issue with trying a substance or something like that, they can do individual counseling with them, they can have them in a group, and they can work with the parents on that too. So she's very helpful. And we meet monthly to look at data and kind of decide what we need to do school-wide, and if we need to do any more targeted interventions on certain groups of kids or individual kids. Parents would always be informed if we were going to be working with your child on an extensive individual basis. The Oasis is the room where, it's my office, but it's also our school psych and our school social worker's office. But it's also it's like a relaxation room. If you haven't seen it, happy to walk you guys that way when we're done. It's got low light, soft music, soft seating, kinetic sand, meditative coloring, puzzles, Play-Doh, and the 3 of us are there if they need to talk. So they can come and talk, or they can just come and take a break. And that's open to all students. My caseload is all students who receive special education services. So if they need to see their counselor, they come to me to talk, but any child can use that room at any time if they need it. And then, like I mentioned, Monday, October 3rd, will be the mental health team coffee, so you can learn a little bit more about what services we have. And beyond that, in November, we have a nutritionist who's also a therapist who works with kids, your kids' age, on eating disorders and body image. And unfortunately, we do see a lot of that, and it starts to develop kind of at this age. And so I think it would be helpful as a parent, I'm a parent myself, to see what are the signs and how do we kind of divert that from happening before it really happens. So that should be interesting. It's the first time we've had her. And then, as I said, in December, we'll do social media for parents. I wanted to mention, especially for those of you who are new to the county or just 6th grade and you might not be aware, we do have some specialty high schools that kids apply to in 8th grade, but the classes your kids take starting now affects whether or not they can apply. So I wanted to put it on your radar. We have a parent night for the Academies of Loudoun. That's the one housed in Loudoun. And the kids go to their home high school on one day and they go to the academies the other day, so every other day. So they still get to participate in sports, activities, clubs at their home high school, but then they get the specialty classes at the academies. We're having a parent info night. All are welcome, even if your child is not in 8th grade, on October 13th. And then the other one is Thomas Jefferson High School, and that is in Alexandria. It's in Fairfax County. And that that's this week, the parent info night. So that's Wednesday, I think. And if your child goes to that school, they go full-time every day. There is a bus that takes Loudoun kids there. It's about a 45-minute to an hour and 15-minute drive. So it's a big commitment, but kids who want to go, they really want to go, and it's an amazing school. So I encourage you to come to both of those parent nights. And this is just our contact info. the email's easy, it's all at lcps.org, it's our first name dot last name. And then you can see I'm for special education students, and then 6th grade. And Miss Blevins is Miss Hittrick. She got married this summer, but her email's still Blevins. And then Rowan Trinigali is the 8th grade. And then you can call the main school number and they can patch you through to us. We don't have direct lines. I think that's it. Questions?
Thank you guys for coming. Yeah. If you